Start. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I feel like it should be afternoon for everyone, even if you're on barely afternoon, if you're calling from the West Coast. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. As everyone's logging in, feel free to get familiar with the platform. If you want to, you can even put in the chat where you're calling from. Sometimes it's fun to see where we're all calling from. I'm personally calling from Chicago. It's has now gotten cold here. We had a nice long summer, but now the end of winter is nowhere in sight. But that's okay. We're gonna welcome it with with open arms. We have Lauren here, our amazing partner marketer, calling in from Tennessee. Word on the street this morning is that she was getting some pretty gnarly rain this morning, so hopefully it's lit up a little bit. Tristan, where are you calling in from?
I'm just outside of San Antonio, Texas, where we have 2 seasons, which is summer and not summer, and we currently are experiencing the not summer part now. We got a little bit of cold weather. I say cold is 44
Yay!
degrees, but it'll last about a week, and then it'll be probably 80 again next week, so we'll see.
So I love that first fresh, crisp fall air. It's like so refreshing. We have Rebecca calling from Louisiana. Exciting. I have a colleague from Louisiana, Central Florida. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Before we get started, I'm going to just go over a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, and we will be sending out a copy of that recording after the webinar. With that, we do encourage you to share this recording with any team members or colleagues that you feel may benefit from what we'll be discussing today. There's also a Q&A chat. Well, there's a Q&A box and a chat box on the bottom of the screen in Zoom. As we go along, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and ask them. Like I said, we have Lauren, our partner marketer, here on the back end. She'll try to get to as many of those as she can, but if not, we do have a dedicated time slot at the end for Q&A, and then we'll also provide contact information on the last slide so that you can reach out to Verified First or APS Payroll, which is our partner that we are presenting in conjunction with today. Finally, there will also be a brief survey that pops up at the end of the event automatically in your browser. I personally would love to ask you guys to stick around for a few seconds and answer it, and then provide any and all feedback, ideas for future webinars that you want to see, additional questions if there's something we didn't touch on today or you want more information about. It's super important in letting us know what you thought of the event and how we can continue to improve and provide valuable information to you. Okay, well, let's get started. We'll start with a few uh, brief intros. So you can see myself and Tristan on the screen. My name is Savannah. I'm one of the partner managers here at Verified First. I've been here for about a little over 3 years now. I've loved my time here. I've gotten to know a lot of our partners very well. I'm a big fan of APS Payroll. We always go to the Texas Ministry Conference together each year. They're a great team, so we're super happy to have them collaborate with us on today's content. We have Tristan here as well, who will be doing a demo. What better person to do a demo than Tristan, because he actually used to work for APS Payroll. So he is the expert today. Tristan, do you want to give a brief intro?
Absolutely. So, yes, my name's Tristan. I'm based in Texas. I did previously work at APS where I've gotten really, really familiar with the system. So, today we're going to showcase what it looks like both on the APS hire side and even mention what it looks like to maybe even rescreen any folks on the actual employee record side as well. But I've been in the space for a little over 4 years now, and I get to work with a lot of APS people even now today since I'm on the verified first side. So, looking forward to showcasing what that all looks like.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited to have you do the demo. As much as I love doing demos, Tristan is much more educated on it than I am. So we're in great hands. A little bit about our agenda today. This is, like the title alludes to, the ABCs of background screening. We're going to get pretty specific into specific screens, why to background screen, common challenges that companies face sometimes with background screening. Tristan will do a demo. We'll have our dedicated Q&A, and then we'll provide some contact information and additional resources at the end. To start off, we usually do a couple poll questions during our webinars, and it's just to help us gain better insight into what challenges you guys may be facing and what softwares or technologies you're looking to replace or that you're not happy with. So, Lauren, if you wouldn't mind launching this poll question real quick of which area of your hiring or onboarding process could benefit most from a fresh approach. We have pre-employment screening, applicant tracking, sourcing, onboarding, or if you're one of the few very, very lucky ones that we always have some in our webinars that nothing needs to be changed. Everything's running smoothly. It's amazing, but we're happy that you're here today to learn a little bit more about background screening. I love it. The votes are coming in. I will give it maybe like 15, 30 more seconds. We'll share the results and then we will keep going. Perfect. And I just want to confirm, Tristan, is everyone able to see my screen and my deck?
I can't see the screen. I have the poll up here, but not the screen at this time.
Okay. Once we launch this poll question, let me unshare my screen and reshare it again. So I got notification that we can't see the deck. So that's kind of important for today. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this poll question. We have almost everyone that answered. I love it. And it's pretty across the board as well. Let me end it here. So we have, pre-employment screening. Love to see that that's the largest percentage because that is what we're going to be talking about today, but we will kind of touch on the other ones. I appreciate you guys answering the poll. If you want to bear with me for just one moment, I'm going to unshare my screen and reshare it. Let's see. Okay. Can we see it now?
We can, and it looks great.
Yay! Okay, good. Sorry about that, you guys. You missed mine and Tristan's beautiful there we go. Our beautiful headshots. Had to make sure you saw it. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and get started. Sorry about that technical difficulty. We'll start by going over the basics of background screening and starting with the beginning of why to background screen. So background screening, it's no longer just a nice to have, but a fundamental part of your hiring and onboarding process. And it really comes down to three main pillars. And the first is protecting your community. So this community is everyone your organization touches. It's your employees, your customers, and as this slide highlights, maybe even your volunteers and the vulnerable populations that you may serve or anyone that you come in contact with. And it's our fundamental duty to provide a safe and trustworthy environment for everyone. The second is safeguarding your reputation. In today's world, trust is your most valuable asset. And for any organization, especially a nonprofit or a church, as mentioned here, that trust is really everything. A single incident that could have been prevented by a proper background check can do lasting damage to your reputation and the good work that you do. And we don't want that happening. And third, improving the quality of your volunteers and, of course, your employees as well. This is a key point. A background check isn't just about finding the bad things. It's about also verifying the good. So it provides you with valuable, data-driven insights to be confident that the person you're bringing on board is truly the right fit for the role and also your organization's mission and values as well. Going into the types of screens, as part of our basics, it's important to know that a background check isn't just one thing. I'll be the first to admit before I started working for Verified First and I would get background checked by employers, I'm like, okay, cool. They're just checking to see if I'm a criminal and that's it. And then that's all they're looking for. But there's a multitude of screens. We're going to cover a small chunk of them today, but there's over 100 different products that Verified First offers on, and it's really dependent on what roles you're hiring for, what volunteer work is happening, and that's kind of where Tristan and the rest of our sales team comes in to really understand your needs and understand what's best for your organization. So we'll go ahead and get started into the nitty gritty of different types of screens. So when we talk about the types of screens, a background check is really a package of different searches. It can be, pretty basic, like your basic criminal and social security trace. If there's financial stuff involved, you can, add a credit check, um, or if there's driving a company vehicle, you can do MVR reporting. But let's start with the two most foundational pieces. So everything kind of starts at the core, at the foundation with the social security address trace. You can kind of think of this as like the GPS or the roadmap for the entire background check. So its first job is to verify identity. It confirms if the name and social security number match, and it makes sure the number is valid, and then it's not listed on the national death index either. They're not. No one's using a social security number of someone who has passed. But its real value is that it provides a history of the applicant's past addresses. And you may ask, like, why is that so critical? But it tells us where to look for criminal records. So if someone's applying for a role or a volunteer opportunity in one county, but in the past they lived in a different county and maybe had a criminal record there. If you're only searching the county that they're applying in, then that won't come up on the report. So it tells you where to look for the criminal records. If your applicant lived in 3 different counties in the last 7 years, this report will tell us that, and it'll tell us what counties to look for criminal searches. It also flags any aliases or different names they might have used. So whether it's like a maiden name, a previous married name, and that just ensures that we can run a thorough search. So once we know who we're looking for and where they've been, it sounds very invasive, but it's what it is. We can run searches like the National Criminal Database. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's a massive instant search that casts a very wide net. It pulls from millions of records, including county court data, Department of Corrections records, and very importantly, to the National Sex Offender Registry. And there's multiple years. Most common is 7 years. So within the last 7 years, it'll check for that. And its value is speed. It's a powerful safety net that gives you a fast, kind of all inclusive, comprehensive initial look into and to help you be able to quickly flag potential risks. And a quick expert tip, the National Criminal Database, it's a fantastic starting point, but it should always be used in conjunction with other searches like a direct county search, just to make sure you're getting the most accurate, up to date information. And Tristan and or Lauren, I'm on my PowerPoint slide. So if there's any questions that pop up and I'm just breezing past it, let me know and I can answer them in real time, but I can't see them on my screen, just as a heads up. A couple other screens, continuing on with the basics, two more essential searches. Remember how I said, the social security trace gives us the roadmap of where the applicant has lived. There's also, oh, I think I went one slide too far. Sorry about that. There's also the unlimited county search as well. And that's how we use that roadmap. This is the single most accurate and up to date search that you can run instead of just a broad database. This is a direct search of the court records in all relevant counties where your candidate has lived for the past 7 years. This is where you will find the official felony and misdemeanor records as well. The value, as noted here, is that it's like a fixed price for all those counties. This is huge. This means you get the thorough, compliant, and accurate criminal history at a predictable cost. You don't have to worry about a surprise bill just because your applicant moved around a few times. In the previous criminal database search, you're just looking for those specific counties. Tristan, I see you came on video. Did you want to elaborate a little bit more on unlimited?
A little bit, yeah. So, and the reason why a lot of my clients decide to use the unlimited county criminal is because I know there's a lot of folks out there that it's easy to just maybe directly go to your, your county court and get that information, right? Or
Mhm.
sometimes maybe just look at a state search. but that's so limited. And the thing about the unlimited county criminal paired with the social security address trace and that nationwide criminal database that it casts that wide net. And regardless if that person's lived in Texas, lived in Illinois, wherever they've lived, we can have that comprehensive look and really help manage the cost of what this background screen is going to look like without limiting ourselves to just Texas or just one county or anything of that nature. So that's the only little piece I wanted to add is that it does help create a more comprehensive search because frankly the court systems in the United States can be a little complex and our job here is to help make that a little bit more simple.
You mean they're not quick? The court systems, they don't run quickly? I've never heard that.
And the fact that they all have every state, every county, they all do their own different things sometimes, and what we
Yeah.
do here at Verified First is help bring it all up into one place so that you don't have to do all that kind of digging, and frankly, you don't have incomplete, background screens. So you can actually manage the risk of those folks that are coming in and really make that decision.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Tristan. That kind of brings us to the next screen that I'm going to touch on. It's the nationwide sex offender registry. So if you're in the church space, in the school space, this search is part of that nationwide database that I mentioned earlier. But it's so critical that it's worth highlighting on its own. It's a comprehensive search of all 50 states to identified registered sex offenders. For any role, for any volunteer employee, this is a crucial safety check. But as the slide points out, it's if your organization works with children or vulnerable adults or even just in people's homes, this is an absolute non-negotiable. It's a fundamental part of fulfilling your duty of care and providing peace of mind to everyone in your community, whether it be your employees, your customers, your congregation, etc. This is a crucial screen. And kind of on that, we'll look at two more screens that are often vital depending on the roles that you're hiring for. First being the abuse registry. So, like I mentioned earlier, vulnerable adults. This is a statewide search that specifically looks for any documented history of abuse or neglect against vulnerable groups like children or the elderly. Um, much like the sex offender registry, this is a very critical search for any organization. We see a lot of customers in the healthcare, education, social work, or volunteer services utilizing this screen. Its value is clear. It's an essential layer of protection. It helps you reduce risk and maintain compliance with industry regulations, and then safeguarding both your organization and then most importantly, I know I've highlighted the community that you serve as well is really the most important part. One thing I want to talk about a little bit as well, and I'm sure Tristan will touch on this a little bit more in his demo, but about drug screening. So this is also a service that Verified First offers. It's the process for testing for illegal substances, alcohol, or even prescription drugs that are not prescribed that could prevent someone from doing their job safely. And its value here is all about creating a safe and productive workplace for everyone. There's many different panels, types of drug tests that I won't bore everyone with and go into too much detail today. But it protects your employees from on-the-job accidents or your volunteers from, while they're volunteering. And it reduces your organization's risk and liability and ensures you're compliant with any industry specific regulations you might have, like an example being Department of Transportation requirements if your organization is involved in that. But it's a key part of any comprehensive workplace safety plan. The next one I want to touch on is a newer product. It's gotten a lot of traction in since we've launched it. And I'm sure Tristan is a lot more well versed on it than I am. But so feel free to jump in at any time, Tristan. But we've covered the traditional searches, criminal verifications, so on. But this is a newer product, and like I said, that's gotten a ton of traction with our clients, which is social media screening. And I mean, Let's be honest. I love to do a good Google search every now and then, looking people up on LinkedIn, etc. But the problem is doing that yourself is it could be a huge legal risk. And when you do that, you can't unsee what you find. You know, you might see someone's age, their religion, their family or disability status, or political affiliations. You know, all of which are protected classes when either onboarding volunteers or employees. And the second you see that information, even if you try to ignore it, you know, your company is exposed to a potential discrimination claim. But that's the problem that this service solves. It's screening social media, and not just for, you know, just checking out who these volunteers, who these employees are, but for flagging, you know, concerning things such as discriminatory language or engagement with violent content. This empowers your organization to make more informed hiring and volunteer decisions and reduce those blind spots. You can ensure a candidate's public facing online activities align with, you know, your company's mission and values, and all the while reducing your legal risk instead of increasing it. So it's a much safer, more thorough way to get a comprehensive view of your candidate while still remaining compliant with your onboarding practices. And so, like I said, we just covered maybe what, six or so different screens. There's a ton of products and a ton of screens that can fit any organization, and that's kind of the purpose of our team here. I'm in partner management, so I'm not the most educated on every product, but they are truly experts in understanding what's needed for every individual organization, because everyone is different. They're not everyone's going to be running the same screens every time. I'm going to go ahead and pass the time over to Tristan now. I'm going to stop screen sharing so he can screen share and walk through a demo of what our integration looks like in APS Payroll.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. At this point in the demo, though, I am going to have to go off camera. So sorry to disappoint. It just internet bandwidth wise, we got to make it work.
Perfect.
Alrighty, and can we see my screen? It should have a couple different icons at the bottom,
Yes,
and
I can see
awesome.
it.
Fantastic. So I always like to start off by just explaining what our integration actually is, because a lot of times when folks hear the word integration, especially when we're thinking, how does this plug into APS specifically? Three things come up. It's how much time, how much effort, and how much money is this going to cost us to actually integrate? And here at Verified First, our integration is what's called a patented browser extension. Great thing about it is it's already built and it requires three extremely easy steps to actually set up, which takes less than a minute. So, starting off with the extension, it is free to download, like you see here, and there are no integration fees with the APS platform. Again, no integration fees. You only pay for the screens you actually run with us. And again, it's free to download the extension so that you can integrate. For my new clients that get started with us, how to get set up with the integration is pretty simple. Step one, we're going to have you head on over to your web browser store. So, whether or not you're using Safari, Firefox, Edge, or Chrome, like myself, you can simply just search the Verified First extension, or like how everyone else does it, they just wait till their onboarding specialist sends them the link, which of course we're going to go ahead and do because you'll have an onboarding specialist and an account manager where you'll be able to easily download the extension. Now, you can see here, I already have my extension downloaded. That's step one of those three easy steps. The next step is going to be to click on the puzzle icon that I have up here. When we click into it, the first thing that we're going to notice is that this is going to house all of the downloaded extensions that we have today. And we're just going to make sure that it's pinned to the top. I'll tell you why that's important, but that's step two of those three steps to go ahead and integrate with APS. Once that's done, because for some reason within the web browser store, you can't open up any extensions, we're going to watch these Pac-Man go ahead and do a Halloween themed game right here. But when you click into the actual pinned extension, it's going to prompt you to log into your Verified First extension, where at that point, you'll be fully integrated into APS. Again, three really simple, easy steps. Should take at most about a minute to be able to do. Now, starting off and clicking into the actual integration here, Two things I want to make it very clear is that we integrate both in the APS hire module. So whenever you're screening any new candidates as well as new hires, whatever it may be, but also in the APS online record. So if you need to do any rescreening or screens on existing employees or even volunteers, I know a lot of folks at APS are housing volunteer data within their employee records as well. Big reason for it. If you guys didn't already know, you only get charged for the folks that you actually run through payroll through APS. So you can actually house employee or volunteer data for free within the APS portal. If you have more questions or concerns on how to do so or the best ways to do it, I'm going to route you guys over to APS, whether that's Stacy Ritchie over there or anyone else on her team. But definitely can help you out with that. But right now, I'm currently logged into the APS online module where you can see that we have that screen with verified first button where again, once you do all those three really easy steps, you can run those background screens. Now, clicking into the APS Hire module, same thing. You're going to have that button embedded there. We'll click on into it, and there's a couple things I want to call out. So, since we're integrated here, when you click on it, your order screen is going to automatically populate. Our clients love this because one, you don't have to leave the APS portal to actually run your background screens. And then there's a few other things that people really do like. First, it's going to copy and paste all the information needed to run that background screen if you do have it within the APS portal. So this guy right here, Hankford Mess, sometimes he's a little bit of a mess, but all of his information is going to go ahead and populate on over into that order screen, including the email and the phone number that's going to be required to send out the applicant invite. A couple other things too is that you can select different packages. Just want to let you guys know everything here at Verified First is customizable. It's configurable. If you need drug testing, motor vehicle reporting, reference checks, employment checks, you name it, we can build custom packages for you, and you have that access to be able to do that. But let's say, for example, you have different positions you need to hire. Some of them have different screening requirements. You can select the right package for that individual. And right here within the order screen, you can make any changes to that package for this specific order before you go ahead and hit submit. Moving forward, we'll go ahead and send out that invite. This is going to be really easy and simple. We can send out invites both in English and Spanish, and we can send them out via email and text message. Frankly, most of the people I talk to love this because they can cast that wide net, get folks to go ahead and knock out their background screens sooner rather than later. And the texting option is super easy. It's actually mobile friendly. And we also let you know if that phone number that they put in is capable of receiving text messages before you just send it into the ether and then nobody ever completes it. For the sake of this background screen, because we're going to showcase what it looks like for Hankford. But before we get to that point, I want to show a few things. One, once you submit the invite for that applicant to fill out their portion of the survey, you're going to receive email notifications throughout the entire process. But here within the extension, we're going to have updates, and you're going to get updates right here in the embedded button too. Now, the reason this is important, and this really is going to not only be for yourself for visibility, but also if you have multiple people working within the APS system, both in hire and online, this is going to help you make sure that people are not double ordering background screens and everyone's on the same page for, oh, we've already ordered one for Hank. We can go ahead and move forward. At this point, though, I'm going to pretend to be Hank. I received my email for my background screening survey. It's going to look similar to this. Just to give you guys some perspective, you guys can add a logo, additional messaging. We know not everyone's going to know who Verified First is, but this is essentially what it is going to look like. But at that point, Hank will click on in, where he's going to go through his packet with all the employer disclosure, authorization, and compliance forms. He's going to go ahead and get started, starting off with an electronic consent form, local and city notices, because some places have very specific background screening rules that we want to make sure that we showcase those authorization forms and disclosure forms as well. Disclosure form, we're also going to allow Hank to receive a copy of the consumer report at no additional cost. FCRA summary of rights, making sure that everyone stays compliant here on both sides. And then lastly, Hank's going to give that permission for you guys to go ahead and run that background screen. Now we're going to go ahead and have him, put in a little bit of work. He's going to put in a social into two different boxes, and he's not moving forward unless he's got the same social in both. He's going to go ahead and put in a birthday. And then next, he's going to go ahead and put in an address. And you guys are lucky because I cleared my cache and cookies earlier, and somebody had to watch me type out a whole address. You guys get out of that one today. Alrighty. At this point, and just to give you guys perspective, if, for example, you need to run any other additional screens, let's say reference checks, drug testing, motor vehicle reports, those additional screens will be available right here in this applicant survey. If there's additional information that we need that person to fill out, even including to select where they'd like to do their drug tests closest to them, that can all be done right here within this survey. But Hank's just going to double check, make sure everything looks great. He'll hit submit. He's receiving an email confirmation. You're receiving an email confirmation. And then, in the event that once this background screen is completed, on average, criminal background screens are coming back in about 19 to 20 hours on average. But you'll receive an email notification, and we'll head back into his candidate profile here in the APS online portal, or APS hire portal, I should say, where it'll show that the report is complete for you to be able to come back and review. Click on into this here. Actually, we'll come back to, we'll do this one right here. Sorry for a little technical difficulty on this one. All right, so that report's going to be complete. Once that report's complete, you'll be able to click right into it. You'll be able to see the report specifically for this individual without leaving the APS portal. Again, if you want to download and add it directly into APS, you're more than welcome to. Most folks just like to utilize the extension because, again, it's always going to be here. But we do have some clear flagging in place to let you know that things did come back clear, or maybe bright orange review to let you know that something was flagged. But at any point, you can take any pre-adverse action. We have some free templates you guys can all utilize to let folks know that based on our findings, maybe we're not moving forward, or based on our findings, we're still considering, or anything of that nature. But if, like this person, Hank, everything did come back clear, we'll go ahead, hit approve, and then move him on to the next stage within your process. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you can do that and house all that information as well in the employee record within the APS online module too. But that's really about it in terms of functionality that we're going to showcase today. Savannah, anything else you want to make sure that we cover or add?
No, no, that was great. Yeah, that was very thorough. Honestly, that was great for me to watch as well. That was a very, very quick, simple to the point demo. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to mine. Tristan, if you wouldn't mind just giving me a confirmation that you can see my screen.
I can, and we stopped sharing my screen. Is that right, everybody?
Yes, yes, I believe so. Perfect. So, yeah, so that demo, it really just brings this slide to life. I mean, you just saw the power of this integration and tech stack in action, with the centralized integration, the customizable packages, and most importantly, the better candidate communication. I did want to touch on, Tristan did mention that we do offer texting capabilities for these forms. Those are mobile friendly as well. You saw when he went through the forms, it's a lot of information. You don't want to be on your phone and zooming in and out and having to e-sign. So they are mobile friendly as well. They will be formatted if they are using the texting option. Um, Before we head to our Q&A and wrap up today, I just want to touch on some common challenges. The process, I mean, Tristan did an amazing job. It seems straightforward, but where do companies get stuck? So we'll look at some common challenges, specifically the two biggest ones, which are compliance and managing costs as well. So the first and frankly the biggest common challenge is compliance. I mean, laws are ever changing. They're different from state to state, county to county, and it's without a doubt one of the most important C's in our ABCs, if you will. It's the area where organizations face the most legal and financial risk, but it's completely manageable when you know the rules. First, you're dealing with ever changing legislation. It's not just one federal law. You have a patchwork of state, county, and sometimes even city level fair chance laws. It's kind of a moving target. And the big one that governs all of us is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. This federal laws, it's non-negotiable. It dictates how you must perform background checks. And with Verified First, we are PBSA accredited and SOC 2 compliant, which are two big compliant certifications to have to make sure that we're doing everything correctly and staying compliant on our end. The FCRA, it sets out two critical Non-negotiable rules. First, you must get a clear disclosure and authorization to be able to do a background check. It's You can kind of think of this as like the permission slip to run a background check. It has to be a standalone, clear document and not buried in the job or volunteer application. You must get the candidate's consent before you run the check. And then, second, if you find something on the report and you're not thinking of hiring that person, you must follow the adverse action process, which Tristan highlighted there directly within APS under that view report option. This is a two-step process where you notify the applicant before you make a final decision, giving them a copy of the report and a chance to dispute it as well. You can't just see a report, not hire them, and not notify them that you're not hiring them because of what you saw in the report. So it all sounds, I know we just went from like a demo to like a serious conversation. It all sounds kind of intimidating, which brings us to the most important point on the slide is choosing a screening partner that will support you. Like I said, we have a whole compliance team here, our client success team, our account managers, everyone's there to support you and your integration, like the one we have with APS payroll, building compliance directly within your workflow. Our system automates the electronic consent form, it manages the adverse action notices, and then it provides that compliant framework so you can make hiring decisions with confidence. And this brings us to costs. The second major challenge that we hear about right after compliance is costs. Everyone's on a budget, and I'm sure we're nearing the end of the year now. Everyone's budgeting for 2026. So, the most important point is understanding background check prices, which Tristan, I'll probably have you go into more detail during our Q&A. But it can be really tempting to go with a provider that advertises an instant $5 background check, but in this industry you absolutely get what you pay for. These low cost checks, they often cut corners. They might miss critical county level records that we talked about earlier, or they might not even be FCRA compliant as well. It may be tempting, but it could open you up to a lawsuit if you miss a major red flag. But the right screening solution can actually save you money. It's a crucial mindset shift. It's not just an expense, but it's an investment that protects and prevents a much bigger cost, which is the cost of a bad hire, the cost of onboarding a bad volunteer. So we think about the lost productivity, the cost to rehire and retrain, the damage to team morale, or even hopefully not a potential theft or workplace safety incident. A compliant background check is one of the most effective ways to reduce those risks. And then, as we saw in the demo, an integrated solution saves you a ton of administrative time, which is also a very real cost saving for your team. And as Tristan mentioned, to have the integration in APS, it is free. And finally, custom pricing. Just like your screening packages, they shouldn't be one size fits all. Your pricing shouldn't be either. We know your organization has specific needs, and as the slide mentions, a church's needs are probably different from a manufacturing plant. If we work with you to build a program and a pricing structure that has exactly the searches you need, so that you're not paying for the things that you don't.
And additionally, I just
Um,
want to put out there, we do
yeah,
offer APS-specific discounted pricing. So if you
yes.
could folks do have questions or wanna know more about what those packages do look like, definitely reach out to us.
Yes, thank you, Tristan. All right. Before we go into the Q&A, I just want to launch one last poll question. I would love any and all participation of what area of technology are you looking to add or replace within the next 3 months. This also helps us tailor the topics that we present about with our partners. So we'll go ahead and leave that up there for just a second. Yeah, we want to learn, we want to get more insight about tech stacks and what people are looking to, because we have a lot of different like applicant tracking system partners. We'd love to be able to assist you in that. We'll leave it up for about 15 more seconds, get a couple more votes in there. Thank you for voting, I appreciate it. All right. Great. Okay. We have two clear winners. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. We have background screening and applicant tracking system. I love that you guys are here because that's what we've been talking about today. So happy to answer any additional questions. Let me move us to the I'll leave it on the contact page just in case you wanted to jot down any contact information for Verified First or for APS. Let me see. Let me take a quick peek at the Q&A box. Um, Tristan, I know I just alluded to this earlier, but would you mind giving a little bit more of a high level overview of what that customizable pricing package like what are the things you look for when determining pricing
Yeah,
for customers?
so no, great question. We do bill on a per item basis, per item, per alias. But the things that we're looking at, first off, are you an APS client? Because we do have some APS discounted pricing for all of our products. But also, what things do you specifically need, right? If you're, maybe a church and you have, ministries or groups that are working with children, then maybe we're building out custom packages that are going to include things like the nationwide sex offender registry or the vulnerable abuse product that we do have and working with you to make sure that we can fit within your budget specifically. But I like to joke that in terms of packages, we can pretty much build out almost anything that you possibly need or required to do. So there's a lot of organizations out there that are maybe in specific industries that have certain needs, healthcare specifically with the OIG or SAM exclusions, things of that nature. We can help tailor those things specifically for you guys and make sure that it's within your budget. I think that for me, especially healthcare, nonprofit, faith-based organizations, that's who we get a chance to work with the most. And we want to meet our clients where they're at, on top of being able to also provide dedicated support through an account manager and our client services team, which typically we have about a 7-second hold time. If you give us a call, you can reach us phone, chat, email, or even ticketing system. And we're also going to even provide support to your applicants when and if they do have questions, and we'll handle all disputes on their behalf as well. So,
Great. Thanks, Tristan. That was a great segue into the other question that we have about onboarding. So it's what level of support do you offer on the onboarding? So when you sign on with Verified First, you will get a dedicated onboarding team. They're going to walk you through the portal. They're going to help you build those packages. They'll even do your first screen with you and train anyone on your team that will be utilizing Verified First. So we're not just going to sign you on and send you to the wolves. We'll make sure you understand, because as you saw in the demo, it's a pretty extensive portal. There's a lot of products, there's a lot of different customizations. We have a dedicated team to onboard you and set up those packages and set you up for success to start screening. And then beyond that as well, you will have a dedicated account manager as well that will be of resource to you for any needs, any products to be added. And then we also have an incredible client services team. I know I work for Verified First, so I am a little biased, but we pride ourselves in our 98% customer satisfaction rating. We're available via phone, via email, via chat. There's always someone there to help you with any additional questions or things you may need. And on the screen right now as well, we have our partner email that comes to myself and all my colleagues. So if you have something specific, a question of Verified First and APS together or one of our other partners, we're here to help you. And that's what we pride ourselves in. But let me just double check that I didn't miss any more Q&A questions. I think I got them. So that brings us to the end. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I really enjoy presenting these webinars. Please stick around for the post-event survey. I want to hear any and all feedback. If you have, ideas of stuff, you want us to go more in depth about, we're open to hearing it. We thank you so much for joining us today. And Tristan, thank you for hopping on and doing the demo. If you guys are celebrating Halloween this weekend, have fun, be safe, eat lots of candy, and we would love to hear from you, and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.
thank you guys.
Bye.